come on forward to the hot seat. You've been there once before, I think.
Speakers, do you want the mics on?
Turn the speakers on, yes, please. We are, the council's back from recess. And our last candidate is Donald Thomas, who's joining us. And Don, welcome. The process we're going to follow tonight is we have a series of questions we'll be asking you. We'll be at the completion of that, you're our last interview, so then we'll be meeting to determine the candidate that we're going to select. And then if that candidate's available, we'll ask that candidate we'll swear him in tonight and go forward from there. We've had four interviews so far. Two of them have been remote because of prior commitments of other candidates. So with that, I'll ask the first question and give us a short biography of yourself. Tell us why you are interested in serving on the town council and what your thoughts are about the council first 2 years.
Well, it's fairly loaded series of questions, but I will be fairly brief because I think many of you have heard the same litany of history here. But I essentially lived my professional career in Chicago and spent much of my professional career doing development work, which made me familiar with planning and town councils. And we had a lot of intergovernmental interaction in my career. My history with the Keystone Valley goes back to 1967. And our home was built in 62. I met my wife at the cabin in 67. I've made visits here every single Christmas since 1967. So I've seen quite a few changes made. As a matter of perspective, there were 12 motel rooms in this valley when I was first here at 12. And it's my experience to be able to say, well, I can bring together a community connection and a professional connection to this council. I mean, I think I could do a pretty fair job of understanding the issues that we're presented with. And I think I speak well enough to be able to at least communicate my positions. I'm a team player. I'm an endurance athlete, so I can take late nights if it comes to that. But what I would like to say is that the last couple of years of watching the gestation of the town has been a joyful experience for me as a citizen, as an involved citizen. It has been fun to watch the entity deal with the rigors of IGA and the rigors of having to shoulder the load of a comprehensive plan, for example, or to put together an administrative team with no prior working record of each other, no way to just generate artificial cohesion. It's just been fun to watch it all come together and to see what has been done in the last couple of years. So, I mean, long story short, lots of history, lots of connectivity. I think I'm a good communicator, and I have a perspective both from the natural history standpoint and also from a business development standpoint. Anything else, Dan?
Thank you. John?
Yep. Don, thank you so much for making the time today. So kind of what we're going to do is Ken briefly mentioned is we're going to ask these questions. Some of them may sound repetitive to things you have already covered. Please don't knock me over the head or any of the fellow council members here. We're just trying to ask every single person the same exact question. The last interviewee, for example, like it was kind of comical. We asked the question right after she had basically answered it already. We're like, you don't have to re-answer it, but we just got to at least ask it, right? So this is going to be a two-part question related to your skills and experience. So if you could tell us about any previous experience on a governing board, whether it was business, government, not-for-profit, HOA, or any sort of other board, what did you learn from that board, and what would you bring with you to the Keystone Town Council for that experience? And then second, if you want to touch on any professional work experience, that you might also bring skills or experiences to the work on the council.
Sure. One of the first experiences I had as a 30-something young father in the suburbs of Chicago was to become a part of the Wilmette, Illinois United Way. And I think being on that board made it very clear very early that regardless of my grad school, night work, and professional 6 or 7 days of working, that there's extra effort involved in this kind of service work. And one of the fun experiences that I had was putting together a fundraising event, which was a road race. I mean, I like to run, and that was just something that seemed like maybe we could generate some interest in the United Way and raise some funds. That was an experience that I used to launch projects that are similar to that. But I understand the nuances of creating the collaborative spirit on a board like this, where you may or may not want to take the initiative to be the one guy that dissents, but it may be necessary for the hygiene of the group to actually have an adversarial position and express it and have good reasons for that. In my business life, I have had the privilege of being able to develop several different entrepreneurial ventures. It's a diverse experience, but the bottom line is, when you're an entrepreneur, every single responsibility rests on your shoulders. And as a result of that, you need to create a team that can get the job done, and you need to work with the context of whatever those team players' limits are. You need to know what they are and go get them and encourage them as best you can. You need to. I would say professionally, it was a joy to work with a very large project in the little community of Buffalo Grove in Chicago and do an annexation that involved 12-story buildings in an area that only had 3 before. And to tell the story and explain in terms of marketing context how all of the aspects that were necessary in terms of infrastructure, in terms of measuring public relations, measuring what was there a community support, or was it a set? How do you read all those things? So I think the process of developing property really requires a deal of sensitivity and a deal of the ability to listen in addition to talk, which I think is really important in what would be your positions, to hear what the community needs, what they're asking you to do, to basically respond as a public servant. I hope I covered the bases.
Thank you. Councilmember Camp.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad to hear about your continued enthusiasm in our town. My question is about commitment. Town council requires a significant time commitment, usually 2 meetings a month lasting about 5 hours each, reading extensive packet materials prior to the meetings, and often attending other committees or organizations' meetings. How will this fit into your other commitments?
Well, I think it's a question of priorities and professional priority setting. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a full appreciation for what has been invested in this effort. This is not news to me. So I would basically allow my real estate business to be handled by Kay, Scott, and Marnie, my 2 kids that are also involved in my group. So when we have a crisis or when we have a scheduled meeting, I simply work around that. And I'm 3 minutes away, so I can be here when I need it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kerr.
Hi, Don. Conflicts. So are you participating or planning to participate in a professional or personal activity that could lead to a conflict of interest with town council responsibilities, or be perceived in that way?
Well, I think when you talk about conflict of interest, what I would do, I do have a property that's being presented to the Land Commission and ultimately to you guys. It is a property that's been in the family for 60, 70 years, and we've been working on this step now for probably actively 8 or 9 years. So when that time comes, when it's presented, I would have to step aside from that. But in terms of other conflicts, no, I would have none.
Okay, thoughtful answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Higgins.
Yeah, back to me. This is going to be a 2-part question. I'll ask the first part first, and then the second part second. That's how that goes, I guess.
Always.
Good order.
All right. Doing well over here. Please describe what you think the role of a council member is and who you would represent as a council member.
That's a very interesting one. I think I think, and I think it's not too politicized to say this, but I think the role of this group is to basically hear what the heart and mind of the people that live here are telling us. What do they need? For example, I've got an electrician. He lives down the street this way. And he said, he's already written me a note saying, if this happens, I would really like you to take this cause up. He really wants us to focus on Highway 6 and engine braking noises and other kinds of things like that. But I'm saying our primary function would be to listen and then to act responsibly in regard to that. So get to part B then, but
Yeah.
what was the second question?
The second part of the second part is going to be when the council must make, oftentimes we make difficult or even controversial decisions. How will you represent the best interest of the public and consider the interests of the community groups who may at times have differing or opposing positions?
I think that it really is a question of homework and preparedness. And if this group has studied an issue and has come to a clear conclusion as to what direction they want to go, what choices they want to make, I would have no problem in backing up the board to the extent that it's been argued, it's been proven, and it's been decided. And if we take the steps that we need to take in terms of the preparation, I think communicating that to the neighbors wouldn't be too hard.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Permit.
My question is about public involvement. What are your thoughts about how the town and council engages community members now, and how can we encourage public involvement in the town?
Those are good questions, and it's something that it's something that I would have as a pet cause. One of the conduits that we need as a group, just assuming that I'm in this hole, is to provide a reasonable channel for the second homeowners that don't live here full time but don't have a voice. So what I would like to do, if I get a chance to do that, is to develop some form of an initiative to have at least one of us act as a liaison to the various HOAs that are out there. It might be 50 or 60. What are their needs? What channels can we develop that would allow us to interface better? Like, for example, the KNC and this group, there's some neighbors out there that just don't see why we can't just get rid of the KNC. But I think as an adult, you have to realize the history of the KNC and the funding that they've got, the purpose that they have serves a very finite group. Some of them are disenfranchised by geography, and they say, why do we need to do this? Well, bottom line is this group needs to do everything they can to interface with the HOAs, and the KNC is just a good example of that. We need to do a good job of that. More.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Hi, Dan.
Yeah. What do you feel are the community's most immediate needs, and how should the town react to them?
When you say immediate, it doesn't dismiss the important things that just come later. I would love to see us work on Highway 6 safety. I think that's an essential part of living here. And I think the long-term plans are probably nothing like the short-term plans that we need to do to introduce some discipline to what happens in this corridor. I think there's enough initiatives underfoot with our law enforcement people to try to create a little more awareness on the part of all the drivers moving through this corridor, watching the speeds, watching access, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure it's stop signals that are needed, but bottom line is I think Highway 6 as a pedestrian and as a vehicle throughway needs to be continued, in terms of the immediate future, because I think life safety, I still remember St. Patrick's Day from a few years ago at Razor Drive, and we lost a young man, and it just didn't have to happen. Anyway, so that's one of the things in terms of the immediate future that I would want to work on. I think the initiative could be there that we would do more than one cleanup a year, which we're coming up. I would very much like, because I walked these paths, 12, 15,000 miles over the last 2 years. And I know where the dirt and the cans and the residue collects. And I would really love to focus on some of that activity before the skiers get here and after they're gone, because we have to live with it all summer if we missed it. Anyway, those are two of the things I would do immediately and long term. I think it's it's things like Open Space is past doing to develop a profile of Keystone in terms of the natural history with the signage program that they're working on. I think we could do more. And I think the safety of those young families from Texas to think that a moose is a photo op for them and their 2-year-old is dangerous. And I think we need to communicate better what they're involved with, because I think they come in for a visit and they depart, and if, God willing, they were safe, that's great. But a lot of examples that I've seen have scared me to death. And we all know that the moose are everywhere. So it's just something that I would like to continue to see that evolve and get better and better.
Okay. That's good. Well, speaking of services and the role of government, government provides services which require funding. What is your perspective on the role of Keystone's government providing services and the sources of funds to pay for those services?
Well, I mean, the gorilla that's in the corner of every room here is short-term rentals. I mean, I think we have to look at that as something that we need to honor and respect and groom and maintain that relationship with all the short-term rental business that's there, because it's as essential as anything else we've got. I mean, it's not just restaurants or bars or whatever else. This is the core heartbeat in terms of financial sourcing. So I think what we really should focus on is finding a way, as we would do with the HOAs, but I'm thinking in terms of that viaduct, that channel, that communication, the back door, whatever you want to call it, with the HOAs would also have a load of short-term rental communication and dialogue going in, both the revenue side and also the responsibilities of the guests and the owners. Because I think if we communicated that, it's like, why make a law you can't enforce? Well, why have a code that's so stringent that you can't live with it? Let's let the laws and the regulations meet the business that's there, but communicate better. I think we can do that.
All right. And next is
Christine.
Sorry.
Councilmember.
Sorry.
So I know you know this, that the town recently completed a year-long project to create our first comprehensive land use plan. I know that you know that we used industry experts and community input like yours. So have you had an opportunity to review the result, the comprehensive?
I have reviewed in scope and not in details. The details that have popped up have been as a result of our private project, looking for areas in which we interface and looking to see how that has changed in terms of its context from the county and the other plans that we've had.
And when you say we?
Well, Christy Matthews, my planner, and I have gone through that. And also I've talked with civil engineers and landscape, the mitigators for the wetland people.
Okay.
But in terms of my familiarity with the comprehensive plan, I'm not intimately familiar with the text or anything. I mean,
So far, we're not all intimately familiar with all of it either, but as you reviewed the pieces that you did, and its many, many recommendations, what did you decide from that should be the top 2 priorities that the town should take on in the next 2 to 3 years, short-term goals? So we're actually distinguishing between Dan's question about immediate goals. Christy's going to ask about long-term goals, and I'm looking at the middle.
Okay, that's a fair way to put it then. I think I have to look at it from the perspective of a long-term person who's seen all these changes. So that's the filter that I'm looking at this through. I think compatibility of land uses. I think that probably as much, see, we're blessed that we have water in this valley. So we're not going to be driven to make zoning and planning decisions based on scarcity of water or things that are probably going to be problematic elsewhere throughout the county. But I think the compatibility of land uses, as an example of that, when for a couple of years there was at the mine line, when the pot shop was being discussed, and you saw what kind of emphasis the neighbors put on getting that issue rounded up. I think if we're looking at the compatibility of land uses, I mean, I think a lot of the studying has already been done. I'd love to see more amplification of our efforts into open space improvement. I'd like to see that happen. Because, for example, there are like the rickety bridge going across from Cinnamon Ridge over to the parking lot there. That's an area where we, as a town, if we can take some initiatives to clean up some of those issues. There are some safety issues like the bend that you take on Keystone Road as you come back north. And you make that bend where the natural spring is and there's ice all the time. And the speed limits drop down to 25. I mean, there are elements here that we know could use some further emphasis to make it just safer and nicer. That's all. But there are things like that I think the big picture of the comprehensive plan is laid out pretty well where things need to be, who needs to be a neighbor of this and that and whatever. But there are little details that I think can be ironed out without a whole lot of sweat.
And Councilmember Camp.
Yeah, so last question, just put that telescope onto your perspective of what we're just now talking about and go 10 years out. So long-term planning priorities and 2 to 3 most important issues you believe the town should address in the next 10 years.
Well, I think one of the things that we'll have to do in 10 years is, and this, Carol's heard this at least over donuts a couple of times. I think that we will have to pay attention to broadening our shoulders in terms of retail presence. I think that Kindred is going to give us a spark of a different flavor of retail. I think that may happen. That's just kind of what I'm expecting will happen. And I think what we had better be doing is planning for the long-term capital improvements that will have people moving through the valley above the surface much smoother. And what I'd love to see is nodes and clusters of retail where those stops are going to be, because we know that's where people will be. And they don't need to get in their car and go somewhere else to do what they need to do. They can jump on that thing and get there. That's the only way that I can see 10 years out us making a significant difference today. That's something that I think we should guide very carefully.
Just clarification, that's transportation and retail.
Well, what it is, I can see, for example, I can see above surface people mover, something like a gondola, not that far from the Breck or the Telluride gondolas, the way that they use rather than for skiing, but they're inter-community transit. And what I'd love to see is, I'd love to see the employee housing that we have facilitate moving back and forth to where their jobs are without having to get on the surface and make left turns and right turns. And, you know, I mean, it's already pretty bad when it comes to skiing and using West Independence Road to try to turn left across Zuma. On those days, it's pretty tough. And it's going to get worse. Kindred, I don't think they've solved their problems yet in terms of their service movement. When they have 100 weddings with people arriving at the same time, and 100 people in the weddings, and all those cars are getting there at 12:30 or whatever it's going to be, it's going to be really difficult to move up and down that road as I see it now.
I don't mean to be redundant, but it's just the two or three most important issues I'm hearing are transportation and building up the businesses and retail.
It's broadening the retail base.
Okay.
Because there's a representation that we just don't have yet. If you want to buy a t-shirt, if you want to get mac and cheese, if you want to get a great craft beer, a cup of coffee, you want to get North Face, you want to rent skis, you can do those things, but there's more to make a community whole. I mean, where do you guys go to get a quart of milk? You know, where do you go to get daycare? You know, there are parts of this that this community needs to somehow put their arms around and make it happen. And I think a people mover would give a core of energy to that.
Thank you for the details.
Okay.
Do you have some follow-ups? Yep. So I just wanted, when you said broadening the shoulders,
Yes.
we've talked about shoulder season a lot and reducing the shoulders. Was broadening the shoulders related to shoulder season, or was it building the base of retail that you and Christy kind of just talked about?
There's two parts to my question. So one of them is increasing the diversification of the retail presence. So there may be different price points. There may be Gucci and Prada as opposed to North Face and whatever else.
And you've been here for a number of years, right? I wasn't here during this time, but I always heard about the Gorsuch that used to be on the lake and the other luxury retailers that used to be in town. Is that kind of where you're seeing, you think we should try to focus on transitioning back towards some of that? Retail space used
It's
to be.
not so much that. I think what they found over the 20-year lease that Gorsuch had here was that there wasn't enough of that.
Okay.
Keystone didn't have that profile. You know, their demographic is a little more Charlie Lunchbucket than Vail or Beaver Creek. And I think Kindred, and I hope I'm right, but I think Kindred will bring a new profile of buyers, of visitors, of guests, of people that we need to, you know, entertain, take care of. And so by broadening my shoulders, what I meant to say was that a broader selection and a deeper selection, we don't, for example, have a great daycare answer today. So that would add muscle to where it doesn't exist at this point. So I think when you look at the 10-year picture, which I think is what we're talking about 10 years from now, if we address ourselves to allowing the infrastructure that would support that to happen, I mean, that's our job today, to have that vision and to be able to take steps toward that, toward those better answers. But I don't think that pushing more and more people along Highway 6 is necessarily a good answer. You know, we've got Wintergreen, we've got a start at employee housing, and that ratio to what they need is better than it's been in years, but it's still not a perfect answer.
Thank you.
So we can work on it.
Yeah.
You mentioned nodes of retail. What did you mean by that?
Say that.
You mentioned nodes of retail.
All right, so here's what I had in mind. Let's pretend that we bought a gondola. Let's pretend that we started over by the landfill and we made a stop where there is employee housing. And we made maybe another stop where there is another blip of employee housing, maybe by the lake. And then maybe perhaps we could move it over to the gondola lot. And then as far as maybe, you know, Tower Line lot. So what I'm seeing is at that point, have you ever been to the L? You ever been to like mass transit somewhere where you could get off and you could buy stuff there? You could have perhaps, because you don't need parking, you won't need as much parking, but you've got facilities that you could maybe keep open like convenience stores. They wouldn't have to necessarily be, you know, cigarettes and newspapers, but the bottom line is there may be some conveniences there that we could offer that would make that trip up there a lot easier. Just a thought.
So basically everywhere you think that there'd be a stop would be an opportunity to build.
That's the idea. And that may not be that 4 out of 4 would need that, but maybe 3 would. Sure. Maybe 2 would, maybe 1. But it's something that we don't currently have.
Any questions?
No.
Don? Is it-
No, I do not.
Thank you very much.
Should I run away and hide, or what should I do?
It's an open meeting at this point, so you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave.
Goodbye, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're now into the first phase of voting. I did look at the form and there is a minor problem. What we talked about is the top candidate would be get a 6 and the bottom candidate would be a 1. This form says it's just reversed. And I guess, is the council comfortable with still going 6 to 1, or do you want to follow?
Well,
1 to 5.
5 is
5 is top. Everyone understands 5 is the top. 1 is the lowest.
Yes.
5 is best, 1 is lowest.
1 is lowest.
And you have to do them all.
You have to read all of them.
And Bree is no longer in the,
And Bree is no longer in. Yep.
Not neat residency.
are we not discussing, making nominations?
Well, the question,
Could we have nominations first?
we have to take, we would need, yeah, we need to take nominations, have any discussion.
Well, I would just go ahead and nominate the 5 as a
Second.
set.
Yep. Done.
Nominated and second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Now, would anyone like to have any discussion on any candidate? Councilmember Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I think we've unfortunately been put in a very difficult position where there's multiple candidates that, you know, I'm sitting here struggling, looking at my notes, and I highlighted certain things throughout them, right? But long story short, I think that we're in a difficult position because there's several candidates that, and quite frankly, probably all of them would be really good for the town of Keystone and bring, in their own ways, a unique and desirable quality for our council. And so regardless of how the decision goes, I think it is going to be a challenging one for us.
Yes.
Well said. You're here. I echo that. And it's wonderful that we have a choice. We talked a little bit in the break about how many people have come out for this process, and it's invigorating. It's great to have fresh blood, so to speak. Fresh perspectives is probably a better way to put it.
So with that, I think we are in a position
Already filled them out?
of voting, and you need to put your name on the ballot.
I'm not done yet.
Yep, it's not a the ballot.
Did you vote?
Not
Okay.
a secret ballot, and it is open for public review. Okay.
A secret box, right? You know.
Start by the reverse order and then scratch down.
Did anybody catch the name of the new district manager?
Dave,
I thought it was Dylan Tart.
I would probably be the least reputable source on this.
Drew, do you know what the fire district manager's name, director?
The fire or the
Forest Service. Yeah, Forest Service. Yes. David what?
They say I wasn't paying attention.
How'd you know that we said that about you?
Carol, the mic picks up everything.
It starts with an I.
Yeah.
I'll see.
He said it so quick, I
ILS.
couldn't get it. And I looked at their
I
website.
was surprised.
It's not.
We knew how well informed you were.
He's done this sort of thing before.
Yes.
Two finalists, Lisa Mays and Suzanne Lace.
What did you say? We have a three-way tie?
No, two.
A two-way.
Are you looking at their website?
I have two Davids on an email and I'm trying to get which one is the correct last name.
ILS, it's the last name.
That's one of them.
Yeah, that's the district director.
ILS.
E.
Isle.
IL.
Oh, okay. And now that you're still with it, Sarah Style?
I
Straley.
don't have a
Straley, thank you. I'm lost without you.
Her name, at least, I've heard spoken enough times.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
But if I read it, I would be struggling. People think my name's Parme, so there you go.
It isn't.
Well, that's because you. I'm not going to say.
Put your names on your ballots.
Yes, I was going to talk about your Frenchiness, but
Oui. No.
did we just run through your entire repertoire of French?
I parlay a little Francais.
And,
Do we have to put our names on these?
Yes.
Dan Lifestyle.
Okay,
Suzanne.
Wow.
she might.
I thought for sure we were going to have this. Go ahead.
Don't we swear
We
her in?
were going to have to arm wrestle.
I did. I thought.
I'm always looking forward to an arm wrestling way to break a tie, but that wasn't one of the options.
Is she still here?
I believe so.
I would just say that was hard.
That was hard. It was very difficult.
It was interesting. It was close voting. Interesting.
That's good. Yeah.
It was a new system, not. what-
Oh, yeah,
what do we
did
call
that
it?
work for staff? Yeah.
Oh, it worked just fine. The points were 22, 21, 20, 14, and 13. So first round.
Wow.
And the highest is the best or those?
The highest is the most.
You voted that
And
way?
actually, interestingly enough, Suzanne had the highest total votes in the ranked voting.
I didn't hear that. Say it again.
Suzanne had the highest number. She had 22 points in the ranked voting. And then it was 5-1 in the final.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I guess the question, did this work?
I think it did.
I think it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only the confusion was just around the,
5-1, 3-1.
like, when you first described it, you're like, one's the last. I'm like, no, one's first.
I had that same issue, but we overcame it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we are smart, right?
It was emphasized.
You're not agreeing.
What?
Ah,
I kind of agreed and then didn't listen to the rest of
At
it.
this point, we need a motion. And you could make that motion with proper name inserted.
Where's the proper name?
Right.
She's got three names.
Suzanne Rice.
REIFSTA.
Excel.
STAHL.
Yeah. A good,
I move to terminate. Wait,
Don't go there. Don't.
don't.
Yeah, this one here, right? Okay, I move to nominate the following individual for town council.
It's the resolution.
Okay,
no,
Just move
okay,
it.
and just say Suzanne Lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um,
no.
Now you'll be sorry.
show me.
So this is like grade school. This she's gonna stay with you now.
It's not true. You can go all around the room.
I was evicted.
Because any one of these days, Dan is going to move. and throw everything off.
I one time sat there.
I didn't get any for me.
I felt like I was being grilled.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
I move to approve resolution 2026-20, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, appointing Suzanne Rockstall
It's pronounced Reefstall.
to fill the council member vacancy on the town council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Not prepared. Councilmember Christy Kerr.
Sorry, Chris Camp.
Go with it. Approve.
Let me get my notes up here. Councilmember John Hagenow.
Approved.
Councilmember Carol Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Aaron Parmet.
Aye.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan.
Approved.
Ken Riley.
Approved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm honored and stunned and very.
Not done yet.
Not done yet.
Yes, sorry, I missed that.
Well, then now we have initiation.
Okay. Oh, boy.
Initiation.
The water balloon.
Well, this is, I now have to swear you in.
Okay.
Public office. And please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Martha Suzanne Reefstall,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Town of Keystone,
and the Charter and ordinances of the Town of Keystone,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Town Council member
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Town Council member
for the Town of Keystone to the best of my skill and abilities.
for the Town of Keystone to the best of my skill and abilities. Thank you,
Congratulations.
sir.
We're going to make her do the Pledge of Allegiance all by herself.
Since we know that you probably haven't necessarily read over everything, we printed a copy of everything for you today.
Okay,
And this is the
fantastic.
agenda to follow along.
Read it real quick.
Okay.
And
I'll work on that.
It's a good time.
Okay,
Document.
okay,
This one's talking about the audit.
okay,
This is a sample.
okay, very good. All right, thank you so much.
Your first meeting.
For her first report.
It's actually class work, but you know.
Slides from this into CC?
The clerk.
Okay. I get that to you.
And with that, we now have the opportunity for communications to council. If there's anyone in the audience, I see none, or anyone online who would like to make any communications they desire to council, now's the time to do that. And it can be on any topic, and we have a 3-minute limit on the comment. Is there anyone online who would like to?
There is not.
There is not. So, excuse me, given that, communications to council is closed. And first item is presentation of the financial audit.
And I will turn it over to our financial director, Heike Fox. I see that our auditor is online. Presented. Thank you for your patience, Lillian.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Heike Fox, Finance Director. And we have Lillian, who is one of the partners for McMahon and Associates, and she's going to be presenting the audit. So I'm going to just hand it over to her.
Making the both presenters right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lillian. I live just next door over in Silverthorne. So let me get the sharing set up, share the financials with you. So our audit was performed over the course of a week.
Can
Yeah,
you enlarge that on the screen for us?
yes.
It's,
She's sharing.
Does that look better?
1 second, let me see if I can adjust some things on our end.
Sure.
I do need to be able to see the participants, so 1 second.
if everyone's okay with trying to look up here, I'll turn around. Since we have no one in the audience to worry about.
You also have a copy, or no? Suzanne, you have a copy of this packet. Okay.
Are you able to focus on the content when you're presenting? And then together that should work. Everyone see it pretty well now?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Gabby.
All right, please go ahead.
Monitor the chat. Because I
Yeah,
can't-
so our audit is performed over the course of a week with about 3 staff. We kind of hammer through all of your accounts, your balance sheet, make sure that your cash agrees to cash statements. There's no additional accruals. We verify kind of every detail on your balance sheet for a week. And then we spend about 2 to 3 weeks drafting and verifying all the information and reviewing. We also interview your departments and make sure that your internal controls are in place and are appropriate. And if we see anything, we make recommendations in a letter. So here are the financial statements. We have an unmodified opinion, which basically means that your financial statements are free from material misstatement. This is pretty much what we call a clean opinion. Move down to the management's discussion and analysis. There weren't, as Keystone's kind of growing into its position, you'll notice that there's a lot of changes every year. This probably happened for a while. The MD&A does have some good highlights of kind of showing some of those changes. If we move down to the changes in net position, as you can see, the new lodging tax and nicotine tax have started flowing in. Sales tax is increasing. So really, you're just in the beginning of seeing these revenues come in and collecting them and planning. So there isn't too much to speak of comparatively. Last year there was, or in 2024, there was a large capital contribution of infrastructure, which was that large change in revenue. But otherwise, as you can see, there's still a lot changing from 2024 to 2025, and there'll still be more in the future. Let's move down to the government-wide financials. No major changes here. You didn't have any new debt, no new accounting standards. So there's not much to say here. I'll move to your general fund. This is kind of the main thing that we like to look at, your general fund and your fund balance. Currently, your fund balance is $3.5 million, almost $3.6 million in the general fund. And this is your total expenditures, $2.6 million. So you have a healthy fund balance. This will change a lot again as the entity grows. So I wouldn't say what would be a good or bad fund balance at this point, since there's so much changing, there's so much planning going on. But for sure, you certainly have at least a healthy fund balance to start. Otherwise, everything else in the financials is fairly straightforward. The notes are pretty straightforward. Like I said, you don't have any new debt. You will next year, or in 2026. But nothing of note here. Let's go down to your budget to actual in the back.
What was the new debt that you referenced?
You have a new lease purchase
Yeah,
agreement for office space.
But how does that transition to debt if we're doing a lease agreement to buy, right? We're not buying the building with like a bond or anything. So why would that be debt?
So it's a new, in accounting terms, it is still debt, and any commitment would you have lease, and lease payments will create a lease liability, which is considered a form of debt. It's true, it's not a traditional debt, but it will show up as a lease liability in the full amount of the lease payments over the term.
For the 6 year or 5 years, even though we can't technically commit beyond the town. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I had the
Yep,
same
good
question.
clarification. Yep.
So did I.
Why didn't you ask?
Yeah, so this is new lease accounting rules. They came out maybe 3 years ago, but basically you show all of the lease payments as a liability and you capitalize as a right of use of the office space. So you will see that next year. It doesn't affect too much your net income because they kind of offset.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Budget to actual, the main thing I usually point out here is, your fund balance grew, but your budget expected that. So there is some reserves built into your budget. And then the other thing, the main thing I look at is just that you were within your budget in terms of expenditures. This is sometimes we'll disclose if it's over. You want to make sure that you maintain your budget in terms of total expenditures or amend it if you expect them to be over. So you're within budget on your general fund, which is good. That is pretty much it for the audit. Any other major questions?
Any questions?
I have a simple one. This is just trying to understand audit. You've mentioned workforce housing needs and infrastructure responsibilities. Says you're going to need to do this, you're going to need to do that. But that's kind of policy, right? We may not want to do that. Why is that in an audit?
Could you tell me what page you're referring to?
Well, on mine, it says 56 is, well, let me see.
On the bottom, it should say
Okay,
your D.
86, B6. B6. This is just a question about what usually goes in an audit.
So this is the management discussion and analysis. So this is really something that comes from you that speaks to your financials. We just usually our part of the audit would verify that anything that's presented financially is correct. So I think Heike might want to speak to what's here. Would you like to talk to that a little bit, Heike?
Yeah, I mean, basically, this is just saying that like the workforce housing is a council priority. And it's one of the things that you guys are working on. The one underneath that, the infrastructure responsibility, it's just noting that, since we're building our infrastructure up, and now that we have all those roads under the town, it's our responsibility to look at that long term and what that's going to cost us. And that'll be, once the council gets to that point of a capital improvement plan, that'll better outline that and what the costs are and what we expect in the up and coming years for that. Does that help answer your question, Dan?
Yeah, so really it's from management, not audit.
Yeah, it's kind of a heads up. These are things that
That's fine.
are important. And
It's kind of like a
will be-
looking forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's would be your language and you're free to change it. It's more of a section of management discussion of here's our financials and here's what we're looking forward from here. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Lynn, for performing the audit. I'm not sure you always get a lot of thanks for coming in and being an auditor. Particularly.
Yes, well, I also want to thank Heike. She's very responsive and quick to respond. And I think we have very low to no adjustments, which is a good thing to see. It means that what you get from Heike is what we would say is right. And if you see a lot of adjustments, basically, you're not sure through the year if there's things being reconciled or not, and that's not happening here. She's detailed and her work is complete. So good job for Heike too.
Again, congratulations to staff. And a clean audit is always something that we like to see. And I think expect to see from the staff. So.
And now it's the standard.
And now it's the standard as we go forward. Again, thank you much for performing the audit and providing us the insights.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian.
The Next item is the 2026 financials. Now, again, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
And I will turn it right over to Hopalong Heike Fox.
All right, good evening, council members. I'm Heike Fox, Finance Director. We're looking at March tax revenues and April financials. And if you guys don't mind, I'll just kind of highlight a few different things. But if you just want to open it up to questions, we can do that as well. So what is your preference?
If you're sharing a screen, we don't see it.
I am not sharing a screen, but I can most definitely share a screen. Give me a moment. Share, here we go. Can you see it?
We can.
Okay, awesome. All right, so you will see that our first quarter tax collection for this year is 9% lower than last year at this time, which is about $110,000 difference. And I kind of suspect that that's going to carry over through the summer and then go from there. But we're going to keep a close eye on it and keep you guys apprised of anything that changes there. If you go into just by the industry standard, you'll see by the sales tax collection, the lodging tax is down about 12%. But in the lodging tax, it's about 13%. And the reason there's that difference is because Colorado, the state of Colorado, collects it a little bit different. There's some businesses that have more than just lodging tax. So if they have a restaurant and lodging, it just gets lumped into one. So those don't get pulled out from the state. You'll see that retail collections were up about 9%. So that was good. Restaurants were relatively flat. And then utilities, it looks like they increased 13%, but that was really just a timing difference. We had some utilities that were reporting to a different jurisdiction last year, and then they got caught up this year. So we're on track for this year. Lodging tax, of course, is for March. It took a really big hit. It was 20%, 22% down compared to last year. And then based on our projections, it was only 15% down. But overall, for the first quarter, it's down about 13%. Or $112. We got April's lodging tax in. So, and that's still down about 13% year over year. But it's about 120,000 now difference from last year.
Heike, real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
And I believe you briefly mentioned this at the beginning, right? But are we anticipating seeing this same? What I'm getting at, right? And I know March and February were impacted by, there was some considerations with certain things not necessarily reporting correctly from a year ago. So I understand that, but March seems like a really good comparison month year over year. Are we anticipating that this March metric, this 22%, 15%, 9% for the total revenues would continue throughout the year?
It's entirely weather dependent. And it's, we're actually, no, we're not, for several reasons. First of all, we are actually, despite what the newspaper said about Breckenridge, expecting a fairly strong summer season. That's really dependent on gas prices because we're expecting hot weather, and hot weather in Denver is a reason to get up into the mountains.
What metrics do we have that support?
Hundreds of years of El Nino. But the war in Iran is also going to affect that dramatically depending on where gas prices are in a month. So there's a lot of questions about that. However, Kindred, as we said, which we didn't budget for at all, is online, and I anticipate that that will, at worst case scenario, level out any projections.
Do we have any sort of metrics from the STRs as far as there's been a lot of rumblings from the community that STR folks that usually would STR over the summer are going to either like long-term rent over the summer or long-term rent for the next 12 months. And that would obviously have an impact with our STR or lodging tax. Have we had any kind of communication from our stakeholders and giving us an idea of reduction in units that are STR versus non-STR?
I haven't. I'll let Heike answer that though.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen any as far as from a lodging tax collection perspective. Nobody has contacted the STR license department and said that they were not renting anymore or they're converting to long-term rentals. But with that being said, even if they do, during our summer months is our slow month. So there's plenty of rentals out there. A lot of them already anticipate that they just don't rent during this time of year. The big months, of course, as everybody knows, are December, January, February, March. And then the STRs renew in September. So when that happens, we'll definitely have a better idea if people, have stopped renting or will not continue to rent. But currently there hasn't been any communications on that. And then also just so you guys know, like when we did our projection for sales tax, we projected flat from last year. What we didn't anticipate was that one of the larger restaurants would close. We didn't anticipate, just like everyone else, that the snowpack would be just dreadful. And then, of course, right now, just with the gas prices being so high, that's definitely going to affect us. So we're going to keep a close eye on everything. But when we get down to our financials, the April financials, if you guys want to jump to that, that's a really good indication of where we are right now. If you guys see, like, because our beginning fund balance of every fund started out stronger this year than what we had budgeted. And because of that, the ending fund balance, and in the general fund, we actually, this updated budget projection, we actually reduced our sales tax revenue by 10%. And our ending fund balance is still going to come ahead more than what we had budgeted. So we have a little cushion there just because we had savings from last year's budget. But it's definitely something that we're going to have to consider going into the 2027 budget, just to see what everything looks at, and then to see what your guys' goals are for the year as well. But, as you can see, the housing fund, the fund balance is up quite a bit from $1 million to 1.5. And then the lodging tax is, we budgeted 264, and we anticipate we're going to end with just a little under 500,000. So even though things don't look so great, they're in the end, so far we're okay.
Heike, just to return to that STR question. So the article we all read was about Breckenridge and their, tourism dude who could look at bookings. We don't have that possibility here, right? So we only know when they pay the sales tax. And if I understand correctly, the sales tax doesn't hit until they arrive. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct, but we do reach out to the bigger companies and ask. We don't get detailed outlooks, but they'll let us know.
And so what kind of feedback have you gotten from the big 3 or 4?
The last I heard, and this was a while ago, was they're anticipating summer, a standard summer. I'm not seeing a lot of cancellations on early bookings. Summer has a lot of late bookings too, though. Much more so than ski season, winter. So it's.
So still some element of question, but I think one of the points that did come out in that article was that Breckenridge is a lot more expensive to stay at. So, okay, thank you.
Building on that, do we, as a town, have access to Destimetrics or Demand 360 or any of the reporting softwares that are oftentimes quoted in these articles?
No, we do not.
And then the agency that's providing that support is the Breckenridge DMO Tourism Office, which is separate fund.
Understood.
Those types of things.
We'd be hearing about possibly doing on the road from
on June 1st. Yep.
Thank you.
And I really want to stress again, Heike's point, if the disparity in Keystone, as will be pointed out on June 1st again, between our 4 big months and our other months is pretty disproportional even to other resort communities. So we could have bad April through November and still make it up with a good December.
If we get a good December.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd like to point out, you look at the April financial summary report that Heike provided, even with her updated budget projection, she's looking at the general fund being about $200,000 higher than it ended this last year. In the housing fund, we're looking at that being lower than was projected. There was a deficit there, but again, that was driven by potential expenditures for the housing project in Summit Cove, I believe, in Summit Cove predominantly, even though budget projections are revenue is going to be down there. And the Conservation Trust Fund, of course, is relatively flat. And the lodging fund, again, we would end projecting an ending balance there, about $200,000 higher than was initially in the approved budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification on that. In the housing budget, even though we made those adjustments and on the expenditure for the Habitat housing, the ending balance is still about $500,000 more than what we had anticipated.
I was just seeing you're projecting a deficit of the fund on the line above that last line.
Yeah, that's just income versus the revenues versus the expenditures, and we don't know right now that we're going to actually spend that $250,000 on that Habitat, but that's the big change there. Besides the beginning balance in the housing fund.
Having the same trouble I am. If I have a deficit surplus, deficit at the end of the year to projected budget, then I find it hard to say I'm going to grow the housing fund by $500 million. That should be $64,000 less than the projected.
Well, I think part of it is that the approved budget versus the updated budget projections are drastically different.
Yeah, because the approved budget, those numbers were put in long before we got our.
I see the difference.
Yeah, so we.
The budget was 933 for housing.
Yeah.
And Ken, honestly, that's kind of the one above. It's the same way. Like I scratched my head for that for a few minutes.
And we started the year with more money than we anticipated.
It's a good issue.
And that does not mean that we're not concerned about our expenditures. However, it's clear this year, even if we spend all of our budgeted expenditures, we're safe. We're not going to if we don't see some sort of turnaround, we're not going to budget expenditures to the same level next year.
Is the Dillon development in there or not? I mean, I didn't hear what she said.
The Habitat for Humanity is in anticipated housing
Expenditure.
Yeah.
So basically paraphrasing and putting words in your mouth. Overall, while revenues are down, you're still projecting that we're not going to be in trouble this year at all with ending balances.
Yeah, correct, but this is not sustainable.
This doesn't consider long-term capital needs that we're going to have eventually as we go forward.
Correct.
In consideration what we have to have in the cash fund to be able to pay for maintenance of roads, long-term maintenance of the roads, capital repairs. All right. Any other questions? All right. The next item is the consent agenda. This is a little different for us. But we have one item we need to remove from the consent agenda, and that is the council meeting minutes for May 12th, which were not put into the package. And we would then have those in the next meeting's package. So I would, to approve the consent agenda, I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda with the council meeting minutes approved. Removed.
So moved.
Second.
What?
Okay, I think John.
Choose, Missy.
Whatever you want. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda as amended is approved. The next is the proclamation of high school graduates. Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, I will read this out for you. A proclamation of the mayor and town council recognizing Alex, and I apologize for any mispronunciations in any of these names, recognizing Alex Ivy Barragan Lucina, Everling Marieli Gomez Blandon, Christopher Alejandro Lopez Patson, Brandon Alexander Avia de Luna, Kyle Reedy, Avery Claire Thisted, and Ivana Jocelyn Zubia Fletes. Whereas the above students are residents of town of Keystone and valuable members of our community. And whereas the above students graduate from high school in May of 2026. And whereas one of the benchmarks of a healthy community is the growth of our children into talented, successful adults. And whereas the town council of the town of Keystone recognizes the time and effort that is required to graduate from high school and take the first steps into adulthood. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the mayor and town council of Keystone, Colorado do hereby honor and recognize Alex Ivory Barragan Lucina, Everling Mary Lee Gomez Blandon, Christopher Alejandro Lopez Patson, Brandon Alexandra Villa de Luna, Kyle Reddy, Avery Claire Thisted, and Ivana Jocelyn Zubia Fletes for their hard work and achievements in graduating from high school. Further, we hereby encourage these students to become involved and active members in our town where their contributions will strengthen our community. Issued this 26th day of May, 2026. And I guess we need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
You seconded? All those in favor, please.
Discussion.
Or any discussion?
Mr. Manager, I know that when we were talking about this, we had talked about expanding beyond just homeowners in town. Do we expand to, or can you explain the scope of who's been included?
The only inclusion has been people who live within the town and have graduated.
Within the town. So for example, Wintergreen, if you are not in Vail housing, then you're not included.
Well, some Wintergreen is included, is in the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody who lives in the Keystone address.
Okay.
And then it was verified that the school district, school and so.
Awesome.
Thank
the
you.
parents did it works for them to participate in the program as well.
Awesome.
Lots of steps.
Yes. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Before we go to the next agenda item, because it's right in this line, will the town manager please lay out for us the external means that we're going to recognize graduates in the town?
We only have 2 of the graduates consent to their picture and name on signs. We're putting, I want to compare them to election signs, but they're significantly bigger out in our median out here with pictures of 2 of the graduates. And then we have a couple additional signs recognizing just all the generic 2026 graduates from the town of Keystone. So they'll be very visible and they're good looking signs.
Thank you. Any other questions?
All right, going up tomorrow. So
Trees by then too.
And if any council member would like to see those signs, they're in the hallway. You go down towards the town offices.
we didn't have lampposts to hang them on like the other times.
Yes. All right. Next item is consideration of ordinances. And the first ordinance is ordinance 2026-0-6. And will the town clerk please read the title or subject matter of the item into the record?
Ordinance 2026-0-06, an ordinance of Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, amending ordinance number 2024-0-05 to remove Class 3 work session development review procedures from the Town of Keystone Land Use Code resolutions.
No.
Right.
Resolutions. He added an extra word.
Use code.
Land use code, period, yes.
Thank you.
I'll declare the public hearing open. The procedures that we're going to be following tonight, as I speak to the council members, is our normal procedure of we'll ask questions of the staff will present the ordinance. We'll have an opportunity to ask questions. We'll open the hearing for public comment. At the completion of public comment, staff will again have questions asked. Council will again have an opportunity to ask questions of staff. And at the completion of those questions, we will close the public hearings and then enter deliberations to make a decision on the ordinance. With that, I'll turn it over to the town manager for his introductory presentation.
Okay, so I'm going to pass this off to our planner, Jessica Hertzberg. But I'd just like to restate this resolution is changing our public code just to make it easier to navigate for both our citizens, builders, developers, and to tell the truth, staff and council and the planning commission too. So I will let our planner, Jessica Hertzberg, give a brief summary of what this does.
So this ordinance is removing all mentions of the Class 3 work session from our town land use code. The Class 3 work session is a non-binding review opportunity for a developer or property owner to get non-binding advisory feedback from the Planning and Zoning Commission or the Town Council for appropriate projects. This opportunity will still be granted to members that would like to still seek out an informal, non-binding review, but this removes the necessary procedures from the Town Land Use Code around the Class 3 development review process to reduce staff time, cost, and provide better clarity to the public about the review procedures around applications.
Any questions of staff? Is there no questions of staff? In that case, I'll declare the public hearing closed.
Wait, yeah. Probably should still.
Is there any public comment? Thank you. Hearing no public comment and no additional questions of staff. Any additional questions of staff? Questions of staff by council? Now hearing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for consideration of the ordinance by council. Any comments? Councilmember Hagenau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel like somebody's going to say it, so I'll be the one to fall on the sword. While we're not having a lot of deliberation, in case anyone's listening back to this recording or present here that may not know this, while there's not a lot of deliberation or questions happening right now, this is a second reading. And we have had lots of conversations about this particular topic in work session. We have had lots of questions about this in the first reading. And so this is part of the process to ensure that there's multiple avenues for exposure. By no means are we just passing this through or not asking questions about this. There's been a sizable conversation about this previous to this meeting. So.
Correct. Councilmember Kerr.
We've said this before. I'll bring it up every time. We're big on what's the word?
Transparency.
Transparency, yes. No, being very clear about what we're doing and why. So I was hesitant at first to take this off, but I realize now, upon lots of thinking, that this actually precludes the perception that there has been builder council deliberations that the public are not aware of. So I'm supportive.
And to clarify,
Yes.
there is room for a comment because it will be at a work session in case something comes up and someone wants to speak toward it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the ordinance on second reading 2026-0-06 as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Again, any debate for the discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Hagenau,
Approved.
Councilmember Kerr,
Approved.
Councilmember Parnet,
Yep.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Approved.
Mayor Riley,
Approved.
Councilmember Suzanne Reeves-Thal,
Approve.
Councilmember Camp. You have 7 votes for.
The ordinance is approved. The next item is ordinance 2026-0-07, the first reading of the ordinance of the Town Council of Town of Keystone, amending ordinance 2024-0-11 as previously amended regarding qualifications of members of the Trails and Open Space Advisory Board. Mr. Town Manager.
And before I pass this one off to our planner, Jessica Hertzberg, too, I'll just remind the council, this came up when we made our latest round of appointments to the Open Space and Trails. And council recognized that there were several people who could be very valuable members of Open Space and Trails who were precluded from serving on the committee because they were not residents or property owners within the town. Council instructed staff to address this problem, and that's where the ordinance came from. And just.
So this ordinance amends the qualifications from just property residents or property owners to allow council to consider individuals for the Trails and Open Space Advisory Board who have relevant professional, technical, volunteer, or community experience in things such as trails and open space planning, maintenance, management, conservation, preservation of natural resources, land stewardship, and several other things. These qualifications would then allow council to consider more members of our community.
Any questions of staff? Councilmember Parmet.
this would bring our qualifications for that committee in line with what most of our other committees are? Okay.
I think not. I was going to propose this. Thanks for asking the question. So the Business Advisory Board, we were very careful. We said that they would be business owners or employees of business owners in the town of Keystone, or members of the town of Keystone community, which we get to determine. We have not given that small caveat into this one. And I think it would be helpful.
I feel like
Councilmember Hagan.
this isn't discussion, right?
Yes.
It's discussion. I thought it was question.
Yes.
Oh, I think the long list of applicable items, justifications, qualifications, whatever we want to call it, that the town planner Hertzberg mentioned, all for me serves as the gray area, the exception, the caveat, the way you can almost apply any of those to it. I do see where Councilwoman Kerr is coming from, is that it's not as blanket of a gray. I don't know, gray area is the wrong word, but Keystone community can mean a tourist who comes here for one weekend.
It can.
Right? And I think that that's the only difference. And while I greatly appreciate the detail and qualifications that are called out, I think that that's the only real difference I see. I'm perfectly okay with how it's presented. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because, and I was going to bring this up, but it kind of aligns with this, is that I have actually gotten feedback that the Trails and Open Space Board, which is our largest board, is too large. Yeah. And so I'm not opposed to having, dare I say, folks with qualifications and folks that want to be involved. Kind of.
And if I may, section F, other experience relevant to the purposes of Trails and Open Space Advisory Board is a very large basket.
And in theory, that like anyone who's a mountain biker walks on our trails, or
if council determines that that's relevant.
So I don't disagree with your concern, but I think the size of it is a different issue.
Totally.
Okay. And I can't give you an example of this, but there are instances in government where large outside organizations of one sort or another seek membership on boards if they're not blocked. If there's no way we can block them, they may be perceived as, wow, this guy really knows a lot, or this gal, she's really connected, but they have agendas to a corporation or some kind of national nonprofit. I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist when I say this, but since we have already set that precedence with the Business Advisory Board, I don't think it hurts us to clarify that.
And this is first reading, so it's very easy to stick in there.
Lose anything.
So what's the wording you're looking at?
So
same as we use for the
town council may appoint member instead of how about this? The town council may also appoint individuals who are not property owners or residents of the town of Keystone, but are members of the Keystone community. If the town council.
We could actually make it simpler if we follow the business, and that is to say, members shall be residents or property owners or members of the town of Keystone community with relevant experience in all those wonderful things you listed. And I say that not just for the outside opportunity to say, I don't understand, what's your interest in Keystone? That gives us the opportunity to ask that question, and then we can decide.
How is that different than
what's being promoted?
Yeah, the subparagraph F, other relevant field or experience relevant to the purpose of Trails and Open Space?
Well, it keeps someone who,
Keystone connection,
like Councilmember Kerr said, someone who might be on the statewide ATV council or whatever it is, who lives in Colorado Springs, never comes up to Keystone, but wants to push for certain rule changes in Keystone to benefit their organization as a whole. It doesn't hurt to add it, I think.
I really don't think it hurts us all. And
yeah.
it just gives us a question we can ask when we need it.
Sure.
What is your connection with Keystone? Oh, I'm trying to force this rule in every county in Colorado, or not.
Are they all going to be from the south?
What did I say? I said in Colorado.
What it also would do, would make it very clear that we are open to membership on the Trails and Open Space Committee from employees who may not live in Keystone, business owners who may not live in Keystone, but are interested in the trails and open space. At that point, we would be able to evaluate their qualifications based on the other items.
And it could be the qualifications override anything else.
Yeah.
So I think I like Town Manager Crown's point. It's simple and it won't hurt anything.
Would we be able to, and I know we've done this before, could we pass this today to at least advance it to the second reading, and then Councilwoman Kerr and Manager Crone can, because I don't really care about the verbiage, to be honest.
Well, you have some suggested verbiage. I'd suggest if we want to do this, agree to that suggested verbiage. It goes into second reading. And then it's very clear that that's what we're considering. And when the public looks at second reading, it's very clear we're not adding something in for 11th hour.
Well, and you would move
That's
to
what I'm
approve it with
suggesting.
the amendments.
Right.
Specific language.
Right.
Does
So
that mean I should do it?
Yep.
any other discussion? Can I have a motion, Councilmember Kerr?
Okay. Do I mention the first reading?
To read the entire,
I usually avoid this. I move that we approve ordinance 2026-0-07, amending ordinance number 2024-0-11 as previously amended regarding the qualifications of the members of the Trails and Open Space Advisory Board with the following amendment: that members shall be residents or property owners or members of the town of Keystone community with relevant experience in all the qualifications currently in the
Paragraph 3A through F.
in that.
Paragraph 3.
Did I cover it all?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
thank you.
You're just happy I read it.
I certainly wasn't going to.
Yeah, my principles to read the long ones.
In that case, I'll call the question. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Carol Kerr,
Approve.
Councilmember Aaron Parmet,
Approve.
Councilmember Dan Sullivan,
Approve.
or Mayor Ken Riley,
Approve.
Councilmember Reed Stahl, sorry.
Approve.
Councilmember Camp.
Approve.
Approve.
And Councilmember Hoffman. We have 7 votes to approve.
Good. The next item is ordinance 2026-0-08. Up for first reading, an ordinance of the Town Council of Town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting by reference the International Building Code 2024 edition, the International Residential Code 2024 edition, the International Mechanical Code 2024 edition. Shouldn't let you do it, Karen. The International Plumbing Code 2024 edition, the International Fuel Gas Code 2024 edition, the International Energy Conservation Code 2024 edition, the Uniform Code for Abatement of Dangerous Buildings 1997 edition, the International Existing Building Code 2024 edition, the International Fire Code 2024 edition, the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code 2024 edition, the Uniform Code for Public Conservation 1997 edition, the National Electric Code 2023 edition, and the International Electric Code 2024 edition.
20,000.
2,000 addition. Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, I am first off going to thank and commend our Community Development Director, Drew Nelson, our Town Attorney, Jennifer Mattson, for the work they put in getting this in front of us. As we said, well, I will just drop it to our Community Development Director, Drew Nelson, right now.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Mary. Good evening. This being my 16th total day on the gig, it was kind of a scramble to get this put together for your consideration. But there are some reasons that we want to have this in front of you currently, because there are some deadlines that are coming up, specifically the 1st of July for adoption of the Energy Conservation Code. If we're unable to get this thing adopted before then we have a kickback to the state's code, which can be heavily restrictive. So we really wanted to get this in front of you now with the anticipation of approval by the end of June. So in your packet, you have a staff memo for me that addresses kind of the background and history behind this. As you are aware, we have an agreement with the Summit County Building Department that requires structures to meet certain codes as adopted by Summit County. We're now looking to adopt those same codes. They change them over every 6 years, so that these would be in effect for that period of time unless amended. And this is the codes themselves are like a progression of codes. It's not something where you get a whole new set every 3 years when the ICC releases these documents. You don't get a whole brand new set of codes that everybody scrambles around to try to learn, because they're volumes and volumes thick. So really, it's just a natural progression in this. And so the actual codes themselves don't change dramatically. And these particular ones won't change dramatically from the previous set, the 2018 codes that are currently in effect. I did list out a number of significant changes, and these were all assisted by Glenn Morgan, who's our chief building official for both Summit County as well as for the town of Keystone. So I just wanted to go through a few of them and highlight a few things for your consideration.
If I can interrupt quick, Glenn will be here at our next meeting.
That is correct.
During the public hearing.
And I'm not going to throw you off, I hope, if I ask this. Are each of these changes to the building code what county is doing and therefore we would do also? Or are any of these town specific?
None of these are town specific.
Okay.
So that way they're administering the same code.
Are all of them the same code that exists in Summit County today?
No, they are not. And I'll go over that in just a second.
Yeah, got it.
So one of the things I wanted to point out, there's a lot of talk in rural resort communities around fire sprinklers being installed in homes over a certain size. That is addressed in this particular code. The code reduces the threshold for sprinklers from 6,000 square feet to 4,500 square feet. It's a pretty large structure at 4,500 square feet. And those sprinklers are necessary to help do some fire management in the event of something like that happening.
Just recognize there's significant disagreement in the council on 4,500 versus 5,000.
Versus 5,000.
Which other towns in Summit County are adopting?
Yes. And John had informed me of that as part of this discussion as well. So we can work through that if we need to, but I understand that there is it's a point of discussion. The other one I wanted to make note of, again, is that IECC, which is the International Energy Conservation Code. It has some components to that that do take effect, or we would want to have take effect, that includes the model, or that we would not then have to adopt the model low energy and carbon code for the state of Colorado. So that's one of the things I wanted to note specifically in this conversation. Lastly, the county is proposing to look at a renewable energy mitigation program, REMP.
Just one quick question. All the codes that are referenced in the ordinance title, where does REMP fall?
REMP is actually under the IECC.
Right.
So it's an appendix to the IECC is the way that
Was it part of the code, or would that be a Summit County amendment to the code?
It would be it'd be an appendix as an amendment. to the IECC.
So it wouldn't be something that was existing in the IECC. It would be a Summit County unique amendment to that code.
That is correct.
So not presented today.
And it's,
No, it is. It
is.
Yeah.
I have a significant issue with RAMP. It potentially has a significant impact on future development, Keystone. It addresses the use of fire heated, meaning natural gas heated, outdoor swimming pools, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, and heated surfaces. Summit County has spent a year addressing this, studying this, and looking at the and to look at the ramifications of Summit County. We have not spent a minute looking at this other than this evening. I'm concerned, and our entire community isn't even aware that something like this is being considered. I'm very concerned that including that in this passage of something just to get our model code out there does a disservice to the community from a transparency standpoint and deserves consideration to bring it up on its own merits and have it fully discussed within our community.
I at face value completely agree with that. Mr. Nelson, if we were to remove this section from there, would that impact the June 1st or July 1st?
July 1st. To my knowledge, it would not. Just removing that appendix out. But I did want to just discuss it briefly because there are some slight exemptions in REMP that the county has put in there as part of this in terms of what they're proposing that do allow for some limited outdoor like snow melt systems or things like that. But you can also offset it by basically paying a fee to offset that.
I thought they got rid of that.
However, the text, your staff summary sheet indicated that the commissioners had not made a decision on that question, whether they wanted to have that included in the code.
And that is correct. Yeah.
All right. And number two, if you actually read the language in the code that you included in the staff sheet, it specifically precludes the fuel-driven, natural gas-driven appliances from being installed.
And there's a section in the staff report that talks about the electric REMP or electric ready REMP as part of this as well. So it doesn't preclude the use of electric sources. It precludes the use of natural gas for some of
We're talking about natural gas because of the significant cost difference of installation and operation.
Sure. And it also doesn't preclude the use of renewables such as a geothermal or other type of
cost
system.
about 3 times the cost of putting in a natural gas system.
Well, I can only speak to the REMP program that I was witness to in Mountain Village. In that particular community, the gas boilers have reached the end of their useful life after a decade, and they're replacing a lot of those and using geothermal heat sources for that. So I'm just again offering that as an alternative to consider that the offset could be done through a way that may be just as efficient and have a longer lifespan because of the term.
I'm not opposed to the concept of REMP. I believe with the natural gas situation in Keystone and Summit County, it's something that definitely ought to be on the table and considered. I just believe the community deserves an opportunity to understand this is being considered, and we need to hear the voices of that community.
So point of order, we're at 9:01. I'd like to make a motion to continue the meeting beyond that.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Sure.
So I know we want to mirror the codes because we use the same staff. Right. So is there an option to take this out, this one piece?
Yeah, and I talked with Glenn this afternoon, and he indicated that could be the case. The county will be discussing this at their meeting on June 9th. So there will be a full conversation around that at that level, and he can provide you more information on it when he comes back here for our second reading.
But I would still like to be able to deal with this separately and get it out in front of the community so we hear the impacts on the community.
I think the mayor makes an excellent point in that we're not opposed to this in principle, but we just haven't considered it. And what we don't want is our community to go like, oh, they snuck in and took away our capability, even if no one had any plans to do it, and everyone might have been on board anyway. But if we have the discussion and we're transparent, then I think that's really what our constituents want.
And as I understand it, right now, you have two projects or one project on the book in two phases. And that's for the Vail Resorts gondola heat melt system. One is being built now and phase 2 is next summer. And I understand that's already been permitted. So that wouldn't be impacted by this.
I don't know about phase 2, but phase 1 has been, it's under construction right now.
So phase 2, I believe, wouldn't have been impacted by this, but there may be, but there, and other than those two, I don't know of any other projects that are, they may be in discussion phase, but they're certainly not in the planning phase going forward for coming in for permitting. So I don't see the urgency of trying to push this right now because there's nothing on the horizon in the near term that's going to be.
If I may weigh in here quickly, two things. If the county passes it, it's going to be imposed on our developers, our builders, our projects, so long as we are operating under the current IGA with the county for building services. I'm not saying that's the reason to adopt it. The reason to adopt it now is because if we don't adopt it before July 1st, then really we can't adopt it until the state is backed off of their requirements on the energy.
We can't.
When you say right.
Well, this is going back to the question I had earlier, which you just said, well, we can take it out, but then it's still going to be mandated on the builders?
No.
Yeah, because of the county.
Let's back up. The state doesn't, if we take it out, you're correct. The county, because of our IGA, the county would still enforce it. But there's nothing in the near term that's coming that would cause that to happen. The impact is on the states of
their energy.
Well, I understand that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
Well, we have to do this before we get thrown the states.
Yes, but let's say end of the year, there's strong community push to adopt REMP. And I'm not advocating here. There's strong community to adopt REMP. If we adopt REMP at that time, then we'll be forced to adopt the new state energy code.
One of the things the state put in the tricky language that they put in the legislation is that anytime you then change your code after July 1 of 2026, you have to go to the most restricted code, which would be their code. So we wouldn't be able to add REMP in later.
So much of this discussion is built around the idea that we need to do something before 1st of July in order to preserve our flexibility. So my question is, what is it that is forced upon us as of 1st of July that you believe we don't want?
It's the state's model energy.
And can you?
I can't remember the exact name of it.
Problematic issues with that are?
It's a wild change from the IECC.
Like more restrictive.
Like what?
Incredibly more restrictive.
Like,
so we might not like REMP.
I don't understand that code well enough. Glenn can actually answer that question.
State does not address REMP.
So why can't we, because if we try to add REMP back later, we have to adjust the entire code to be the strictest, which is the state's.
Yes.
And how do we?
and that will be true for the county as well as the town, right?
Yeah, that's why the county's racing everything through.
Okay.
themselves, right?
Can I understand? I'm looking at building codes and international energy conservation codes. To me, these look like two distinct things, but we've got them all in one ordinance. Is there some reason for that?
That's how it's usually done because.
It's just a matter of efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay, if we look at the building codes alone, there are 3 changes to the existing international residential code that the county apparently is proposing.
One that they already have in place.
Right. I guess, yes. So I just want to be clear about this. We've already discussed sprinklers. My concern are these can be perceived as making our homes less safe. If you can help me understand why decks that are less than 30%, 30 inches above grade do not need to be permitted, even though that's exactly what's vulnerable to a moving fire. What does deck permitting address? What is it we're trying to get
It
at?
doesn't require a building. It just doesn't require a building permit. They still need to check with us for setbacks and things like that. So it just doesn't require them to go to the actual building department, pull the permit for the expense of the permit.
This is simply an efficiency move.
Yes.
And it's been that way for a long time. Decks.
Okay, this is not a change.
Decks under 120 square feet, not connected to the building, less than 30 inches of, as long as I can remember, not required.
Okay, well, I bring it up because these are part of the changes, the things that you're saying is different from the IRC, the International Residential.
So that's one of the exemptions that exists currently in Summit County in the building code. And it's
So another
maintained.
one that already exists apparently is the ADU requirement for internal ADUs.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I wasn't clear between current and proposed. So the IRC says they should have separate fire and sound. And apparently this county supported code is you just need to link your smoke and CO detection. Am I understand that correctly?
That is correct. Yeah.
And that has been that way for a while.
That I don't know. In terms of how long it's a new section in the code, according to the county.
Okay. For an internal, that kind of makes sense, but because it's so expensive.
It would be very cost prohibitive to put in the proper fire separations and sound barrier.
But here's where I didn't understand. Does this exemption exist for just existing buildings?
Yes.
So new ones would have to build in those separations?
Yeah, that's correct. And
Okay,
at the time of construction, it's easier to build that in than to try to go and retrofit it.
Absolutely. Okay.
I want to understand my other question. So we can approve all this without RIM, but our builders will still have to build to RIM because we're using the county's.
Well, it's because of the IGA, not because of taking it out, because we would have basically our own set of codes at that point that they would be responsible for enforcing. The way the IGA states it, though, is that they will enforce their codes for us here in Keystone.
So if they say that, oh, you're out of compliance with this code.
We would probably, I mean, it's a question for legal staff as to whether or not we would need to amend the IGA.
I mean, I think I want to think about this a little bit more because this is an extremely unique situation. I mean, you don't typically adopt a code and say, oh, no, you don't follow this code, you're following that code. So I'd like to think about it a little bit more. It sounds like Mr. Nelson is going to have conversations with Summit County building staff. And so I want to think of how we would incorporate that into the ordinance. If there were a change of our ordinance different from Summit County, how that would be addressed.
But if we don't accept this RIM right now, that would force the state.
No.
So
only if we chose to adopt it
later.
After July 1st.
So in my.
Unless the state code changed sometime afterwards.
Yeah, it seems, to be blunt, it seems like we either take it as it is now, or we don't have a rent program, because I know how the conversation is going to go when it goes to talk about rent down the road. So well, now we're going to have the super restrictive state code that we have to adopt. And like, yes, it could change, but that's just what I'm looking at right now. Those are my two options.
That clarifies the issue fairly well. So let me offer a potential solution that recognizes the mayor's good concerns with this rock and hard place that the state has stuck us between. as this is first reading, right? Can we have some sort of community outreach to get rapid feedback so that we can modify things in future readings as necessary and keep us on a timeline to still be able to implement this if it's within the community's acceptance and not get stuck with restrictions that we do not want or stuck without a program that we might actually want?
Yes, though, I mean, from my perspective, there's a tight time frame because we have pushed our second meeting to the 30th. So we don't want to push it to the second meeting of the month for June. So that announcement would be a real rush because it would need to go out and be processed before our first meeting in June.
Well,
I said, but what other choice have we?
It's a rush.
Just so you know,
Survey better than no survey.
we looked at the publishing timelines, and to make it all work, we actually have to take the second hearing out to June 30th anyways.
Yeah, because this is an adopted by reference. So we had to do this with the model traffic code. When we adopt that, you have to have, you have to publish the notice of public hearing 15 and 8 days before the public hearing. And there's no way we can meet that timeline now to have it at the second at the meeting.
So if we left it in now for the first reading, we have Drew drop a easily understandable synopsis of what REMP means for Keystone. We'll send it out to our mailing list explaining public hearing on June 30th about, all these codes, but this is the issue that we're concerned about.
Send it to council too.
Because I believe you also need to send it to the building community.
So the great part is that the building department's already been in touch with the building community to work with
The
this.
building community.
From us.
From us.
We can certainly let them know that.
And to the major organizations in Keystone that we know. It needs to go to Vail Resorts. It needs to go to KNC, which are the two big areas that are potentially impacted.
But also, I mean,
And the whole,
I know they're different, right? But those have significant overlaps in stakeholders. What about the HOAs that have an outdoor
We'll
pool?
send it out to our mailing list.
Yeah.
well, not just the mailing list. I think you need to send it out to KOA as well.
They're on our mailing
Right, maybe
list.
let's talk. But make sure they understand what this means. In most cases, the HOAs, it's not a major hit unless they're making a major change to the existing system. Where the hit comes is if they're adding something new, like the final changes around the gondola area in River Run. If for some reason a home decided they wanted a paved sidewalks that are heated, that would help us. Those are the type of things. I just want to make sure those communities have an opportunity to come in and get their day in court.
So this is more staff work. I appreciate your willingness to do this. And I have a second ask. So to put this back into perspective, this entire discussion about approving this by 30th of June and deciding on the REMP, or I can't remember how to say that, is because we are concerned about the state environmental energy conservation controls that are coming. There must be some place in the state level that outlines what those are so we can understand what we're deciding against.
We can provide I'll have Glenn put together an analysis.
You don't expect you to have
I'll be
in
honest.
your back pocket today.
Well, and to be honest with you, I don't know the comparison between the IACC and the state's code. I honestly just
I
don't.
find it hard to believe the state hasn't already developed this for all their folks.
I will tell you that you are not the only community that's rushing to get this 2024.
Okay, but we want to know what we're voting on.
I understand, I'm just sharing that there is a big push. People do not want to go to the model low energy carbon code.
Okay. Let's be able to explain to our constituents why we don't want to do that.
And
Okay.
to be kind of blunt, I don't know how everyone, but it seemed like at least three of us were leaning towards removing this. But now that I'm understanding the context of the most strict code or whatever, I'm in support of passing it, but it's like under duress almost.
But it's also, we don't have enough.
They did that to us.
And I know that's not you, right? I know that's not you.
No.
We're a data sucking data center.
But yeah, it's important that we understand what the driver is that would force this,
Yes.
why that code is so oppressive, that would force us.
The county has not decided yet on the RIM, correct?
That's correct.
Well, are we able to give them thoughts?
Certainly.
And are the other towns doing the same thing? Do we know?
My understanding is that in Silverthorne, they anticipate that Silverthorne will not adopt the REMP program as proposed by the county because they manage their.
But they don't have the same IGA we have, right?
That's
So,
correct.
Yeah, are we the only
But the
ones?
IGA is not the driver.
well,
It's really not the driver.
We can different doing something
good point.
similar.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't believe they have a renewable program, a renewable mitigation program. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So with that, the recommendation is to what? Approve in first reading as is?
Proven first reading as is, let us do community outreach and better summaries of specifically REMP and the low carbon energy code. And then make that decision at the second reading, whether we want to leave it in or we anticipate not adopting it at any time in the near
And
future.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's an all or none. It's recognizing that in the future, if the state didn't make any changes in their Senate bill that's been, or the House bill that's been passed, that we could make the choice of going to the state of 2026 or 2025 code.
Yeah, it's their model code.
Their model code, if we wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Pass it and then do that.
I have some non-REMP related questions whenever we are ready to move on.
Well, I don't know if we are.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, no, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, everyone done with REMP?
Yeah.
Shall we learn more? Yes.
I believe, Mr. Nelson, you said every 6 years these are reiterated or updated or.
Well, the county, they adopt the most recent version every 6 years. So right now we're using the 2018 codes. But the codes themselves from the company that basically designs this in the building community, they do those every 3 years, actually.
Every 3 years.
So this would be a 2-year or 2-cycle version that we would be updating.
So why are there 3 from 1997, 1997, and 2000? So the dangerous buildings, the uniform, and the electric, all were like, is there no?
There's no updates to
And
it.
that's just because the company or the organization's like, this is as good as it's going to get.
I think it's really more because those codes are more of some of those like property maintenance code is more focused on a planning department rather than a building department most of the time. So it's a little, but again, those just haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't been updated.
Yeah. And I know this isn't new. It's just shocking that in 30 years, there's not been an update in that, right? And then my second question related to the model aquatics code that Summit County just put into place, and I did see your note in here about that. Could you explain the differences between the ISPSC one that's included here and where those duplications overlap? And is this more effective than the Summit County Model Aquatics Code? Why are we using this instead of just the Summit County Model Aquatics Code?
Again, I don't know the difference between those two, and it's administered by the Public Health Department as well, the aquatics permitting through the county. So it's not even something the building department really administers in terms of like that, again, around the environmental health side of
And
things.
now, I believe when the county adopted their new pool code earlier this year, I think it was, there was significant outreach to the entire aquatics community within Summit County. I know the major property management companies and pool maintenance companies in Keystone were heavily involved.
Oh, totally. And I guess where I'm getting at with this is I'm confused at why we're doing this one instead of the one that was just passed, because I mean, I was part of that process, right? And my understanding is.
But we're not. So basically that the SCAHC is the code that will remain in effect.
Oh, so why is this 2024 International Pool and Spa Code in there?
Like they've been deleted through amendments, right?
So I'm gonna go through them now.
It's the last right before alternatives.
Yep. So it appears that that building department staff has determined that that would be the ISPSC. It just says that majority of those sections have been deleted, and the ones that are duplicated, I believe, are the ones that are only remaining. So it basically supports their existing code that they just adopted.
Okay, so we're not creating two different organization or silos.
No.
We're basically saying 90% of, and I'm not quoting on 90, but 90% of it's going to stay the same. We're just going to add the fluff that a building part needs versus the environmental health.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
All you have to do is sign up for 18 more days stuff.
16 days.
We're still at 30 then.
I do want to note for the record that we do recommend adopting this. And again, if you want to remove the, or instruct us to remove the REMP provisions prior to second reading and public hearing on this, we can certainly do that and work through the building department with that. And then I do have a draft, again, a draft motion in here that noted the wrong date for the public hearing. So we would need to switch that to
June 30th.
June 30th.
Do you have a correct draft motion? Draft motion?
I think I can do it, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like.
All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve ordinance 2026-0-08, 2024 International Code Council Building Code Adoption with local amendments, first reading, with the amendment to change the second reading to June 30th and to instruct staff to have REMP considerations taken in to account with what we talked about today.
And the Colorado Model Energy Code.
I think
That'll confuse it. I
it's
think
two
bring it
things.
to you.
I think it's two things. We're approving an ordinance. And then we've given direction, separate direction to staff.
We have a motion on the floor that needs either seconded or ignored.
So I think what they're suggesting is you didn't need the part about the guidance to staff is not part of the motion.
All those, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's pretty second.
Second. I believe that the motion as stated includes more than just approving or disapproving the ordinance. It includes direction to staff that we want to have presented at second reading. And we need to be clean and only addressing the actual ordinance and any changes we want in that ordinance. We've already given direction to staff of what we want to see in second reading.
You can amend your own.
So did you want the motion
Friendly
remade?
amendment.
Can we have a friendly amendment?
Do you want to remove the reference to June 30th as well?
No, June 30th is fine.
So just the reference to that.
But you had stuff in there about staff's going to do this, and I don't think that's appropriate in the ordinance of what we passed.
Friendly amendment to remove staff direction.
So moved.
Second.
Do we know what we're approving?
Yeah, by the time we get to the 8th layer.
I can restate it if you'd like.
All right.
Clear to restate.
I move to approve ordinance 2026-0-08, 2024 International Code Council, ICC Building Code Adoption with local amendments on first reading, with the second reading being on June 30th, 2026.
Clean.
Would you second? Any discussion?
Clean.
Clean, that's.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, then, before we vote, since we have discussion, does anyone have any comments they want to make before we vote? I'll make one comment. I'm going to vote for this, but I have extreme reservations about the REP program being included, and look forward to hopefully good outreach with the community and community involvement coming up with second reading.
I would add on to that I agree with what the mayor has said, with the exception that I think we should be really focused on environmental stewardship. I just don't believe that being forced by the state is necessarily the right approach to our community for that.
So any further discussion? Call the question, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Parmet,
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Approve.
Mayor Riley,
Approve.
Councilmember Reeves Stahl, Councilmember Camp,
Approve.
Councilmember Hagenow,
Approve.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
7 votes to approve.
All right. Now, any other business?
I would like to ask for an update on RTAP goals and accomplished objectives. If that's possible. Not immediate, but
I
just,
think that would be other matters later on.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought that's where we were.
No, we're at other. We haven't hit other planning matters. No.
I've made that mistake before.
Yeah, other managers is on it.
Yeah. Any planning matters, additional planning matters?
Gonna get there in a second.
And did you have anything to add to your report of the town manager and staff?
I can get through this in 45 seconds. Cleanup day is this Saturday, 9 a.m. Fire department and the wayfinding people will be here. Lunch will be served at noon. For those of you who didn't know, the town manager has been placed on administrative leave in Dillon in anticipation of choosing a new town manager for Dillon at some point in the future. I don't want to criticize other councils, so I won't.
The thing is, there's competitive now candidates for your role, right? That was a joke.
No, that's not what he was saying at all.
I'll take that big a pay cut. For those, Kindred is open, the restaurants are great. We'll send out the notice of the online tourism. It will be an official meeting because you will be present at all issues. There is a service, it's private for Cody Palmerton this weekend, and I just received notice that Bradley Williamson of SCTV has passed tonight. So
Has passed away.
yes, the Summit County TV.
Isn't he the one dude?
Yeah, yeah. So that's bad news. And the first events in Keystone start June 9th, and then Bay Basin, they start July 3rd.
And do you know the dates that mountain biking starts at Keystone?
I do not know.
I want to say it's the 21st or 22nd. I thought maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. The golf courses are open.
Clearly.
Mr. Manager, what is enforcement of community codes such as the bear proof or wildlife proof trash ordinances look like in the interim?
We just hired a new person. I don't know if they've officially accepted yet, but Chief made an offer.
There's a imminent problem right now, I understand, in Mountain View Plaza.
We've been in contact with them.
So you're not waiting for the
No, no.
Okay.
We don't, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but we don't have to wait for a code enforcement officer. It just is more of their defined duty, right? Like our standard police can go enforce these. It's resource, I know.
Are you proposing that we call you or call the police?
Call us.
Okay, that's what I thought your body language was saying.
Don't call me next week. Call Maddie next week. I will be on vacation.
Question.
Any questions? Go ahead.
So 2 weeks ago, the mayor and I asked that you would get with the fire department and come back to us with their recommendation as to what the town could do policy-wise with respect to fire mitigation or fire mitigation education. I just want to make sure that's still on your plate.
It's definitely still on my.
Okay.
Any other?
I'll rewrite down my notes again.
Yeah. Any other items from staff? All right, now reports from council. Does any council members have any reports to make? Be brief.
Coffee, June 1, Coffee with Council, volunteers. I will be there.
I should be able to be there.
June 1. Okay, put you down.
This is a steep morning.
Steep.
So we'll probably, that'll be 3 more Monday mornings in a row. We'll want to look in July to the possibility of an evening one.
We have the tunnel tour. And I think Carol had mentioned that she might be interested.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. Is there anybody else? I can't remember. This is the tour on the Eisenhower.
If you haven't gone to it, it's a great tour.
Now, the problem is it's July 8th. And it's a Wednesday at 9:30. So that they only do it during the day. Yeah. They only do it during the day.
I'm afraid I will not be able.
So it's July 8th at 9:30.
Dan, I would be interested. I'm sorry, I can't make that day.
You can't. So if it's just me, I'm gonna probably cancel.
No, I could confirm later.
Same, I'd have to confirm later, but I'd be
I
interested.
could consider it strongly, but I need to confirm later.
Okay, well,
Okay.
both of you
All right.
let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
And we can talk about post office stuff later unless somebody.
You're always interested.
Well, I will say that I got a letter was sent by both Republicans and Democrats to the USPS referencing us, Keystone, and our needs. It was a pretty strong letter. I have copies of the write-up of it, the press release. And the bill was changed a bit, unfortunately. A friend of mine, Joni Ernst, changed the bill, which is kind of messing it a little bit in committee. But the next stage is that they're in the referral phase. The Senate committee should get out of committee to Senate vote in July.
Put anything in there that would be harmful to businesses as a good.
No, what they did is they added, there was another bill that was going through that had a dozen towns from other states. And so they just wanted one bill. But interestingly enough, the Wisconsin senators said they didn't approve and they took out all the Wisconsin towns. Why, I don't know, but.
I will say that if it's the states, I believe there's like 6 of these in Connecticut that are being affected. They're all pretty common sense. I'll say ones too. So I don't think it's anything like fund my abortion clinic or anything.
It was watered down to the point that we'd really like you to think of doing this.
No, it's.
Even though that's the way they'll take.
They're pushing it, both, we have Republican and Democrat senators who are sponsoring this.
It's just out of curiosity, since this has been on our plate for a long time and you put it on their plate a long time ago. Is there big costs involved? Has anybody put a cost on this?
Well,
There has to
we
be a
could spend a
reason.
lot of time on this, but the problem is we are simple. Keystone is the simple. There are others that have townships that have multiple zip codes and they go across other boundaries and trying to make all that work it's costly to the USPS.
I knew it was going to come down to cost.
It is all cost.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other?
I just have a request that there's an update on RTAP. If we could just look at any goals or objectives that were accomplished or pushed off.
Right now or in the future?
Just, yes, at
So if we can get down, I would see that too.
no, just a request.
Okay. Drained, are we out of ideas?
No, we're not. Any other council members? We are hitting HOA annual meeting season.
Yeah.
We have a request now for about 6, I think, HOA meetings coming up starting mid-July. I'll get that info out to you at the next meeting and look for volunteers to sign up to go to those meetings. The Mayor Pro Tem, myself, and the manager are going to work at putting together a presentation that we could then use and be able to get that out to council.
Could we get a written schedule?
Yeah. We have it on Excel spreadsheet.
Outstanding.
One thing that I think would be really helpful, it is a pretty small group of us, right? When we think about staff and council and all that, right? Relatively small when we look at other towns. But the manager and I were actually talking earlier today about one of the HOA meetings that the assistant town manager and I went to last year, and it was the Tenderfoot Lodge HOA meeting. And one of the things they mentioned was there's a streetlight outside that is burnt out and needs to be replaced. Town manager informed me we have a plan in place to hire a contractor, et cetera. Where I'm getting at with this is oftentimes during these meetings, we get feedback, we get questions, we get asked of some kind. And I think it might be nice to do some kind of a Google form, a quick survey, right? 5 questions, how'd it go? Were there questions, were there asked, were there takeaways, right? So something like that. And that way, if all of us go to different ones, we can have some kind of tracking sheet or some kind of mechanism where our staff can both look back at, ask from those HOAs, but we can also look back ourselves and be like, these 20 things were done because of the community feedback, because of the interactions we had at those HOAs. So it's quantifying that involvement. And then also, quite honestly, right, if we're realizing we missed something, right? This streetlight has been burnt out for 6 months and we haven't gotten it done yet, then we know that it's something that John and his team could follow up with, and we could also hold everyone accountable, right? So just an idea.
Excellent idea.
I like that idea.
Cool. Right. Anything else?
Real quick on that, is that something you want to take, John, or do you want me to create for you real quick?
Well, you can do it. Heck yeah.
Don't ask.
But you just have to handle the tracking after we're done.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna be the owner of the dog. So,
Any other matters? Now we have other matters.
Oh, I already said mine.
Yeah.
I can say it again if that's.
Second in, all right.
Don't worry about it. In that case, we've completed all the scheduled business for the meeting.